Hey guys, Jim here, wrapping up CES 2025. It's Friday now. The show is getting ready to come to an end. A lot of the booths are starting to close down. A lot of people are packing up and going home. And I am just kind of wrapping up, and I thought what I would do is give a little video walking through some of the show floor, talking a little bit about what I saw and kind of some of the experiences I had. I will put timestamps below. This video may run long, I don't even know. But there are some things I wanted to just kind of walk through. So first and foremost, I gotta say Las Vegas is probably the coolest city I have ever been to. It's ultra modern, it's ultra, just everything about it is so efficient. The airports, getting around via the monorail, everything is QR codes and Apple readers, and it's just, it works. Coming from Orlando, we don't have this kind of stuff. We don't have that kind of technology, and when we try to walk around and when we try to get a bus, the bus is late, or if there is a bus at all, sometimes there are no shows. It sucks. It just, everything about getting around my city sucks. And you come here and it's just like, man, I wish I could live in a place like this where it's just so efficient. And on top of everything, you got to think how many people actually come through Vegas, and how many people are at this convention, how seamless they were able to just kind of move everything around. It's insane to me. Getting in through security was very, very easy. There's multiple checkpoints, multiple entries. Once you're inside the bubble, there's a lot of different ways to kind of move around. You can go through, there's the tunnel where they have the Teslas. They have internal tram services, internal taxi services, all free, that just get you around from the various convention centers to each other. And it was very, very efficient to start anywhere and end anywhere. I never once felt like I couldn't do something because I wasn't able to get there. Thankfully, we had a car. We parked over at the far end on the monorail, and we drove from there. Every morning we drove from our hotel right to the monorail site, and it was great. No issues. Got on the monorail there, and it was 2 stops to the convention center. It was like 4 stops to the Venetian. It was super easy to just get around and to see everything, and that was awesome. Once you get inside the convention, though, that's when things really become larger than life. I cannot believe how massive this convention is. Multiple convention centers. I guarantee you, unless you have been to this convention specifically, there is no way you have ever seen anything like this. It's impossible. I mean, these are full-blown cities that people are building inside here, with walls and chairs and meeting rooms and the infrastructure. I mean, you think of like an old convention, you think of maybe 1 or 2 of the little convention booths set up with like a card table and then maybe some signage in the back. What I just walked through over the Samsung or the TCL booth or the LG booth, it's not that. This is full-blown like cities, infrastructure, roofs, ceilings, doors. The amount of work that goes into building these trade spaces is insane. And even if you're not a technical person, even if you don't even care about the technology, even if it's something that doesn't mean anything to you, walking around and seeing how they were able to construct this is ridiculous. And I loved it for that. I loved the spectacle of that alone. Now, obviously, I came here for work. There were a few things that I absolutely needed to look at, and I'm really glad that I did. I think I got a really good insight into what the future of some of the products that I might be supporting in the future would look like. And I'm glad that I spent some time looking through that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of fringe technology here. There's stuff that's never going to amount to anything. I think of almost the kind of like, just throwing it out there to see, right? Like I saw over in the health section, they were selling ear humidifiers. It's like the world's first ear humidifier. I'm like, world's first? How about like world's only? Like, who needs an ear humidifier, right? Somebody apparently does. That's one of those things that we look at that and go, that's obviously kind of dumb. Like, that's not really going to take off in any capacity, is it? So who cares? There's stuff like that. There's also stuff that's cutting edge, TV screens and projection materials and AI. And that's what leads me to my biggest frustration about this convention as a whole. The obsession of having AI. It's just, AI doesn't have to be in everything. And I can't tell you, if I had a nickel for every time I saw the word AI or heard the word digital twin, I would probably retire. I mean, honestly, the amount of money that I would have made from that is just ridiculous. Everything has AI. AI clothing, AI hearing aids, AI hats, AI cars, AI watches, AI wallets. It's just like, stop. Not everything has to be AI, okay? And unfortunately, for some reason, the industry here, the CES governing panel, the people who put together this event, they seem to appreciate that and they like that. And I say that because if you go over to the section where they have the best of shows, the media and all the important people get to come out here before I do, right? These guys come out and they look at everything. When they come out, you know what? All the things that are in best of show, all AI stuff. And it's like, you know, that's really the only way. I mean, if you're holding a trade show, right? You're going to hold a trade show for people and you're going to say, hey, look, we want you guys to come out. We want you to show off your technology. We want you guys to, you know, demonstrate to us what the future is. These guys have no control over that, right? So CES doesn't get to govern who shows up. They just say, hey, it's open to all. Industry is the one who decides what they want to show off. The only thing that CES can control is who is actually going to win these, you know, these highlighted awards. And I'm hesitant to say why AI gets featured so heavily in that, but it does. And it kind of takes away from the experience. And it's funny walking around and talking with people. You know, made a lot of friends here, right? Everybody's groaning. They're like, oh my God, AI clothing? Yes, there is clothing that a company is trying to sell you, that it's supposed to be smart clothing to tell you if you like wearing the thing or not. It will like connect to your phone, and based on how many times you wear it and where you walk around, it will determine if it's something that you may like. You know, when I was a kid, you know how you liked stuff? You used it. If you got a toy you didn't like, you didn't use it. You put it in the back of the bin. I didn't need the toy to tell me, hey, you're not playing with me. I know it. So there's a lot of stuff that just, it's misleading. It's very misleading. And I think that's the biggest downside to that. Now, my wife got to go last year. I didn't get a chance to go. She said it was pretty bad then. This is excessively bad now. The amount of oversight here is just ridiculous, and the amount of, like I said, the AI-ness is it's overwhelmingly broken in my opinion. But I think if you can get past that and quit finding these a dime for 10 dozen AI companies, and you actually focus on looking for things that make sense, I think you'll find that there is actually some really good value here, and that's something that I do appreciate for sure. Now, going into some of the other booths and some of the other technologies here, I was pleasantly surprised that there was a pretty decent amount of gaming stuff here. They did actually do a really good job of representing gamers. A lot of different gaming chairs and gaming peripherals and other types of controllers, controllers for people who are disabled or handicapped in some capacity. I appreciate that. I love all of that, and I think that that's something that's great that they were able to do and showcase. And I think that's where a lot of the innovation could potentially come from. I saw a really cool mouse that was a mouse that you can control with your mouth. Basically, it's an implant you put inside your mouth, and using your tongue, you can manipulate the mouse. And it had different features. And I'm like, you know what? For disabled gamers, that's awesome, and I love that. And there was other things there, like different types of headphone technology, different types of sound bars, different types of sound processing technology that are taking advantage of some of the advances in, you know, shrinking down transistors, and I like that too. But this is no E3. Don't be mistaken. This is not, or will never be, a substitute for E3. It can't be because it's too broad. But it is nice to be able to walk around and to see some of the various vendors and to see some of the other technologies and look at things and say, okay, you know what, like, I think we're in good hands as a society, like future-wise. I think industry will determine what they think you like, but it's ultimately the consumer that's going to, benefit from that, right? There's a lot of companies I saw here that we walked by initially on day one, and my wife and I looked at each other and were like, this isn't going to last. And you know what? By the second or third day, they weren't even there anymore. So it's like they almost know, like they're almost weeding themselves out almost in real time, which is hysterical. They're basically going through and saying, you know what, like this isn't really working out, is it? So what ends up happening is you have a lot of these vendors who are just, they're maybe they're in over their heads, or they just thought they had a good idea and they don't. I don't know. Everything that you want to see is in the main halls at the main convention center. There are the ancillary sites, like I said. A lot of them are more for distributors and smaller companies that are trying to collaborate. You could tell instantly when you go up to some of these vendors and they want you to basically, they immediately ask if you're a distributor. You're like, no, and they don't even want to talk to you. And they don't want to show you what they have because they're trying to break into the market. A lot of them are overseas who need help with finding, a U.S. partner who can bring them over, work with licensing, work with advertising, that kind of thing. There was a few vendors we saw that actually some really, really cool technology that I had to get a translator to actually go over and talk to, which was fine, but I had to get translators to kind of talk through. And after I explained the kind of work that I did and where I could potentially use their technology, they were very, very intrigued. And they're like, we never even thought that was a possibility for our company. So that just gives you an idea of how raw some of these small companies are. It's not, and I guess that's the thing. When you have this many vendors and you have this many companies that are out trying to promote themselves and trying to solicit work, you do have the big dogs like LG and Samsung and Sony who basically come with an agenda. And then you have some of these other smaller companies that really are just kind of looking to see what the market tells. And I think that's where the real innovation and I think that's where it's fun. As cool as Samsung City is, as cool as LG City is, you don't really necessarily need them to tell you how great their products are because you already have them if you like them. You don't need to buy that. You don't need to buy their products based on nothing they're going to show you today is going to win you over their ecosystem. If you're already a Samsung SmartThing guy, then you're still a Samsung SmartThing guy. But you're not going to come in here and go, wow, I didn't realize Samsung had a whole ecosystem of devices that connected to each other. You already knew that. So I think the real innovation occurs in these smaller companies who don't really know what they want and are just kind of really raw. I suspect those are the companies that get scooped up immediately by these larger companies. Maybe one for fear of technology, or two, maybe because they don't want somebody else to steal it before they do. It's hard to say, but that to me is the exciting part. And I think there's like multiple CESs here, if you want to think about it that way. There's a CES that's kind of tailored more towards industry, showing off thousands and thousands of TVs and sound bars and the next generation of washers and dryers. And then there's the CES where the real origination and where the real stuff actually occurs, where you start to see some of the cool technologies that will really radically shape human lives in years to come. And I think that's where a lot of the gaming stuff really falls in right now. I mean, go Google aftermarket controllers. You'll find 100 million of them. They're a dime a dozen, right? There's nothing unique about an aftermarket controller anymore because everybody's got one. Everybody knows about them. Everybody's got them. There's a bazillion different brands. You probably had some when you were a kid because you probably played at your buddy's house and he didn't have a good controller, so you got the guest controller, right? And that's what a lot of those are. But you don't see controllers that are mice, that you're controlled with your tongue, or designed for people with one hand or mobility issues. You don't really see a lot of that. You don't see controllers that have new advances in some of the haptic feedback controls, that like a racing simulator that has different types of force feedback depending on the wheel, basically the material you drive on. That's the kind of stuff that I think is really exciting. And I think that's where a lot of the fun, and I think that's where we're going to see stuff evolve. I think the DualSense probably evolved from some tech demo we saw at CES years ago, where somebody said, hey, you know what? This is actually a really, really cool idea. Let's take a controller and let's add, advanced haptics to it. Because I saw companies here that were selling advanced haptics, didn't know what to do with them. A guy had there's a small thing you put on the tip of your finger that could change how frequency vibration, a 60 hertz vibration, a 70, 80, 90. He had it down to the half hertz vibration frequencies, which is amazingly cool. That's the kind of stuff that I think you would expect realistically to to occur at like the next iteration of game design, right? And that's what generally excites me. But I will say, as I kind of wrap up this video, it does make me miss E3 a lot. God, it makes me miss E3. I'm really, really sad E3 is gone, and I think if E3 could have been maybe done the same way that this place was, man, I don't know. Can you imagine a world in which E3 had, you know, 2+ million square feet of video games and trade shows and everybody was showing off their new tech? I know those days are done, and I know I'm always the one who's doing these rest in peace E3 videos because I get it, you know, the industry couldn't figure it out. But I think there's hope for the trade show space. I've seen enough people, I've talked with enough people at lunch and walking around and just, you know, making some business connections, which is what I was here to do. Like I said, this was a work trip first and foremost. But I've definitely seen enough to tell me that, you know, I think this trade show works. Despite all the nonsense with the AI, despite all the nonsense with companies trying to peddle, you know, and hawk kind of garbage merchandise, there is enough origination that is here. There is enough technology that I think will shepherd us into, you know, a better future. And that does make me very, very exciting as a gamer, somebody who appreciates higher picture quality, higher fidelity, better sound design. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see going forward in the future. And it's here. It's here. I'm seeing 288 hertz displays. I'm seeing better sound technology. I'm seeing better headphone design, curved monitors, and different LED lights. You got to rip all that bullcrap AI stuff out of it to make it meaningful, but we're definitely marching towards the right place, and for that I'm happy. So farewell CES 2025. It's been fun. You know, I think I walked about 11 miles every single day, believe it or not. A lot of walking. Boy, oh boy, a lot of walking. Got to see some really cool stuff. I made some cool contacts. Of course, I got a couple little swag things, some hats, some jackets, you know, fun stuff, right? Sweaters, a lot of clothing and a lot of bags, actually. And I'm hopeful that, you know, in a year from now, some of the technology I saw makes its way into the hands of the people who I think need it the most. And for that, I'm very thankful that I got to go. And then obviously, just as a whole, going to Vegas was awesome. I loved everything about it, and I want to come back. I want to come back to E3. I want to come back to this next year. I think in my current role, unless it changes, I'll be able to continue doing that as the R&D guy for what I do. So I think I have a good justification to come back. And I'm sad. It's not even over yet. I'm already sad because I know it's wrapping up. And just want to see what the spectacle and the lights and the sounds and everything are like next year. So until then, I wanted to wrap up with a fun little video talking all about the fun things I saw and did. And farewell CES. I look forward to seeing you guys again next year. And I'm going to go grab the boss and go pack up because it's time to go home. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.